Okay, y'all. Thanks so much for joining us for our live Q&A here with OrthoCarolina. I'll introduce Dr. Gart here in just a second, but just want to give you kind of a run over of how this is going to work. This is our first time doing it, which it looks like, because it's our first time doing it, we may have not been able to push it to our Instagram, but we are on OrthoCarolina's Instagram live right now, and we are on our YouTube live as well. And then we'll record this and then push it over out in the link after this as well. If you have any other questions, you can do it here, and I'll kind of throw up some slides as we're doing this, and you can see there, like, we'll have the questions kind of come down below like that. But we'll get this thing started. It is July 30th, which means we are 1 month out from our expo powered by OrthoCarolina, which is why we're celebrating today. Tomorrow is 1 month out from race day. So we're excited for that. But we'll get things started here. Again, this is Dr. Gart here with OrthoCarolina, seasoned runner, also a hand specialist at OrthoCarolina. Dr. Gart, please feel free to add anything else as well.
Yeah, I'm coming to you more with just shy of 30 years of running experience, than a lot, countless, 10Ks, half marathons, Ironmans. So hopefully able to answer most questions for really any distance.
Exactly. I love it. And yes, also a runner here, and I get to be race director too, around the Crown, and on the team here with a couple other people that help out with Around the Crown and our Crown Collective, our larger umbrella company. But we're going to kick things off again. You can send over any questions during this that you may have. We'll try to field them. We've already had 2 other ones come in that we'll try to get to as well, but we're going to keep this to about 15-ish, maybe 20 minutes. But we'll kick it off here. And again, know that, yes, some of these questions are going to be training related. Some of them will be, more specific to OrthoCarolina. But again, Dr. Gart here is 3 decades of experience as a runner, and then also some orthopedic side of things. But yeah, question 1, race day hydration and nutrition tips for a first timer. Have at it, Doc.
So I think, certainly in Charlotte, if the weather keeps up like it has been, you definitely need to make sure to hydrate. To me, the most important thing with nutrition and hydration on race day is to practice your nutrition and hydration plan. So you don't want race day to be the first day you take a bunch of goos and you drink a bunch of water at the start line. I mean, you really want to try to get a couple of dry runs, or as close to a dry run as you can, with your planned nutrition, because GI upset can certainly sneak up on you in a race if you plan poorly. And so you want to make sure that what you're taking in agrees with you. Sometimes real simple sugars are good. Like, I know some people are fans of honey and water, honey stingers, kind of simple carbs are usually pretty good. I at one time fell victim to the carb loading phenomenon, and would find myself eating things I never otherwise ate the night before a race, and that never was a good plan. So I think just practice with it. Make sure you get at least 1 run under your belt with what you're planning to use on race day.
Yeah, and what you plan to eat the time beforehand too. I mean, you mentioned a few kind of call outs there. 1, the carb loading. Make sure you're doing that 2 days out, not 1 day out. I feel like you're told as a first timer, make sure you carb load, crush some angel hair spaghetti beforehand. And really, with our race being on a Sunday, you want that to be happening Friday night.
Yep.
And then I think the other thing you called out there too is just the simplicity of it. Like, don't go crazy. Like, have chicken noodle soup. Like, have something real simple and easy on the stomach that's not extra spicy or not something new. And then the other thing I'll add too, from a hydration standpoint and nutrition on course, we do have Scratch Labs as a partner. So at each of our 2 water stops, you'll have water, and then you'll also have a Scratch bottle there too. Typically, I think we'll have lemon lime out there as our flavor for something to try. You can pick those up at Charlotte Running Company if you want to try those beforehand. But again, yeah, same thing as Dr. Gart's saying. Try it beforehand. Don't chug water at the start line. Do it, the 5 days leading up to it, so your body is fully hydrated and ready to go. Anything else there?
Try to keep things as normal as you can. If you normally wake up and drink 2 cups of coffee, wake up and drink 2 cups of coffee on race day. Don't try to introduce as few changes as you can, would be my general advice.
I would have to agree with that too. Yeah, and again, feel free to send in any other extra questions here, guys. If you have anything for us on YouTube or Instagram, we'll do our best to field those. But moving on to question 2 here. And these are abbreviated versions of what got sent in, so we'll kind of hit on it a little bit here. But how long should I wait before seeing a doctor if I've been having, and this is very particular, outer shin pain? I mean, we can kind of talk on any type of pain here, but yeah, feel free to hit us with some knowledge.
So I feel like the most common things people complain about with running with kind of outer shin pains, either shin splints or maybe like peroneal tendonitis, both of which really should get better with rest. I think if you find that when you rest and take anti-inflammatories, if it's not improving, I mean, if you're really resting it religiously and taking, around the clock ibuprofen or naproxen or something, it ought to be better within a couple of weeks. I think if it's not, or certainly if it's worsening or changing how you're moving, changing how you're striking or something like that, I think it's certainly worth getting checked out. Um, but by and large, these things will come with increasing training volume, and typically the ones you don't need to worry about will get better with rest.
Yeah, and I won't act like I have anything to add there. Like I'm a doctor by any means, but agree with everything there. And it's surprising how much rest. And then I don't know or claim to know here on the shin side of it, but I've always found that rest and then rolling is a big
Mhm.
one. Again, I don't outer shin, maybe not, but I'm surprised how much sometimes rolling helps me a ton with a foam roller
Yeah,
as well.
100%.
Yeah. Cool. We'll keep on rolling through here. So question 3 coming in from California, and really
Mhm.
anywhere, probably at this point, if you're not in the Southeast, is we're coming in from California. How do we prep for the ridiculous heat and humidity that is Charlotte on Labor Day weekend? And again, I'll let you go first. I have some pieces here too, but have at it, Dr. Gart.
Yeah, if you don't have a steam room that can accommodate a treadmill, it's probably hard to. I would just say one thing that I do training or racing in hot conditions is I try to pay attention to heart rate, and what puts your heart rate at 140 on a nice, beautiful day might be very, very different on a 95-degree day. So I think just trying to keep your heart rate under control is probably the best. And you're likely going to run a little bit slower than you're used to if you're used to non-humid, cooler weather. But um, don't plan to run the same pace if it's 20 degrees warmer, and just be okay with that going in, because trying to chase that pace might leave you regretting it later on in the race.
Yeah, certainly. I think the thing that I have learned, so our training plans, and personally, my coach is from Forward Motion as well, who writes a lot of our training plans that we're working through right now. Has talked a lot about RPE, or rate of perceived exertion. So just kind of like understanding that, yeah, if things aren't as normal, or if you didn't hydrate as well, your pace may change, and it's okay if you're not running at a 10:30 pace today, and instead you're running at a 10:59 or whatever it
Right.
might be. That heart rate may be the first sign to kind of show you what's going on, which is nice to kind of think about again. Yeah, if you're coming from somewhere with a little less heat or humidity,
Yeah.
your pace may not be the same, and if nothing else, um, uh, what was I going to add there? Gosh. Oh, start slower and then work your way through the pack. In a race I just did recently, the mantra I kept kind of telling myself was sit in the pocket and just
Yep.
kind of hang out there for a bit. And if it starts feeling good at mile 1, maybe step it up a
Yep.
little bit more, a little bit more. And then the other thing too is wear, think about what you're wearing. Wear light, loose clothing. Hydrate a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's kind of best part from a heat humidity. If you don't have a sauna that can fit a treadmill, if you've got that, you're doing pretty good. But
Yeah.
assuming most of us do not.
Thankfully, Charlotte's pretty flat, but your RPE point is a good one. I mean, even with hills or with heat, just try to, if you feel like your comfortable running pace is kind of 70% of your max effort, try to give 70% of your max effort on race day, and that may be slower, maybe faster, but try to keep your perceived exertion about the same.
Yeah, yeah,
This may
certainly.
help our video. Let me try that.
Oh, there we go. Look
There
at
we
that.
go. There I am.
I love it. I love it. Okay, question 4 here. So a little bit longer. I started trying out some weighted squats, or really, I mean, we can add in any weighted strength training here. Ever since, my left knee feels a bit quote unquote tight. On occasion, nothing painful, just tight. What could this be? And any recommendations you may have, Dr. Gart?
Yeah, this kind of goes back to your foam roller point from earlier. A really, really common malady with runners is IT band tightness, which will tend to give you kind of lateral knee pain, sometimes lateral knee tightness. Foam rollers can be very, very helpful with that. Um, with squats, technique is really very important. So if you're finding that it's painful, especially when you're squatting, you may need to look at the technique, or you may want to get that evaluated sooner than later. But if it's more so subjective tightness on occasion, I mean, probably nothing to be too worried about. But I would definitely look to the IT band as the likely culprit in a runner.
Yeah, agreed. Or from the little bit I know on my side of the non-doctor side of it, but from my experiences of what I felt too. Um, yeah, the other thing I'll add there too, I think sometimes is the offense, not the defense. So sometimes it's better to do some stuff up front. Mindset that, or I guess recommendation I've had in the past is to throw in another partner here. We have Carolina Sports Clinic, and I'm going in there pretty often to either get stretched out or aligned or other pieces that they have. They've got a ton there that I feel like I used to think of it as more of the defense of when I get hurt, I go to a physical therapist, but now
Yep.
I'm, going to go in there a little bit earlier. And to ask here, would it be smart for that person to potentially drop the weight and just do regular squats for a bit?
Yeah, I think that's fine. It didn't sound like they were doing them terribly too weighted. It sounded like a weighted vest. The other thing that sometimes people overlook is unilateral leg exercises. They're very good for stability. Doing single leg squats, kind of like Bulgarian split squats, things of that nature, where you're working more on stabilizers may also help as well, because you may be kind of really strong in the quadriceps, but not as strong in some of the accessory muscles around the knee.
Yeah, certainly. And we've got some of those videos on our YouTube. So if you're following on YouTube Live right now, we've got a whole playlist built out, again, that pairs up with our training and when to do it. And a lot of that is that more singular side of it. Two, I think the last thing I'll add, and then we'll kind of keep trucking here, we're about halfway through the questions, is slow down too. I have found, Dr. Gart, maybe you can speak on this too, but I have found that I think of, if running or working out, I always think faster is better. And then I lose form, be that running or be
Yep.
that doing a squat. I find myself wanting to get through the 15 reps times 3 rather than like going slower and realizing that is the better option.
Yeah, and especially compound movements like squats, deadlifts, you want to pay attention to form. It is much more important to do it with good form than with heavier weights.
Yeah, certainly. All right, we'll move on to question 5 here. We got when there's strength and running on the calendar, which should you do first? And depending on which training plan you're in, you may have this, depending on, what race. We won't just, talk about around the crown training right now, but in general, sometimes you'll get strength training and running on a singular day or maybe other things. What would you suggest here, Dr. Gart?
So I think it depends on your goals. This is kind of my everyday. I tend to run first every day before strength training.
Interesting.
I think if your goal is to improve the running, then perhaps you'd want to do the strength training first. The way I've always looked at it is, what I want to improve upon, I'm going to do second, because I want to almost pre-fatigue the muscles that I'm going to be working. So if I want to work on, you know, improving my running, I'm going to work out my legs first, so that when I'm running, my legs are sort of tired, and I'm going to more readily simulate a late race scenario. And so I think if you're looking for improving endurance, or going longer in a race, I think probably strength training first makes some sense. If you're just trying to warm up and get stronger and do some lifting, I tend to go kind of run first, but I think it's personal preference.
Yeah. And are you doing that in the same session? Like, are you getting done either the running and the strength training and then moving to the other?
Yep.
Cool. I
Typically, but depends on the day, I guess.
yeah, certainly. I mean, your schedule and like we're saying, the normalcy of what works best for
Yeah,
you
right.
may be the best answer. I think I've found if I don't do it in the same session and I get done one of these activities and I shower, I'm less likely to
Yep.
move on to the second one. So I think that may be more of a personal preference, but definitely something to consider there for sure.
And I have found that splitting up, like doing like a 2 a day run, like if you're really trying to build on endurance, instead of doing, say, it's a 10 miles in a day, doing 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening, or something like that, just to get that experience of running on tired legs, because that's generally the hardest thing to simulate with a race, especially multi-sport races, things of that nature.
I think the other thing I'll add here, and this doesn't really go to the same question on strength and running, but talking about adding the stress and meaning like a positive stress here is you want to simulate race day as much as possible. As fun as it is to run on the rail trail or the greenway, I-277 is not the rail trail. There are hills on it. There is not as much shade on it. So really try to simulate what
Yeah.
that will be on race day. So add in some hills or make sure your runs aren't always super flat. So yeah, same thing there for sure. Okay, so this question here, and there's a little bit more to it, so I'll go into it a bit. But I mean, I think this does apply. And if it's okay, Dr. Gard, I'll kind of hit on this one real quick, and then I'd
Yeah,
love
yeah,
to
yeah,
hear
please. Yeah,
your
yeah.
side of it too. So, question is, I struggle to run more than 1 mile. Do you have any tips? I think first and foremost, like that's awesome. You're running a mile. Like, let's celebrate that first. And then if it turns into a run walk, that is a-okay. Like you can finish a race, you can finish a run doing a run walk style. We have many runners that do that. We have pacers that go to our 13:45 minute per mile max pace that the city and state implements on us. And they are back there. They're holding a sign that just says party pace, which is super fun. And they've also got we've got a bus back there this year. We've got an actual party bus. It is not like a charter bus. We have a party bus that has giant like kiss lips on the front of it, and they've got a band on the bus. So if you happen to drop below it, you're probably going to have the best time anyway. But again, like know that that is awesome, and if that's where you get to, like really cool. But on top of that, I'll then throw it to Dr. Gart and say, hey, what would you suggest to maybe work towards running a mile and a half next without stopping, or 2 miles?
Yeah, I think I saw this question earlier. There was some mention of the heart rate getting a little bit too high, and that's kind of the limiting factor. A friend of mine put me on to heart rate zone training a few years ago, and I think that would probably be a place I would go. I think I would focus a lot more on maintaining a manageable heart rate and running a lot slower. There's this article or book or something out there called "Run Slower to Get Faster" or something along those lines. Where essentially it's building the endurance first and building the speed second. And I think that certainly would help. Drop the pace, keep the heart rate where it needs to be, something maintainable like mid 130s, something like that would probably be a decent target for many people. And just try to keep it there and don't pay any attention. The first several runs I did in this fashion were minutes per mile slower than I normally run, and it takes time to get used to it. And I would just do it without even bringing a watch because I was frustrated to see how slow I was moving. But it really does help to build endurance, and if you keep at it, you really will get faster and much better endurance.
Yeah, and it's hard to be patient sometimes too. I mean, you think you've been training for months or sometimes even a year, and it doesn't seem to be improvement. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes that to do it because especially if you're starting in the summer, it is
Right.
it is hard to keep your heart rate low or keep seeing that progression happening. So keep at it and remember forward is a pace, and you're doing great. Um, all right, let's keep it rolling. See if we can knock this out by 12:30 or so here. All right. What is the best way to prevent injury as the miles increase? Take it.
Go on the offense, like we talked about earlier, foam rollers, stretching. I think probably the biggest thing is increase your miles gradually and incrementally. Don't go from 5 to 12. Go from 5 to 7 maybe. Um, Pay attention to your shoes. Footwear is a big thing. As my wife always reminds me, it's important to change your shoes more often than you might think. Most running shoes are good for somewhere around the 300-mile range, depending on the runner and the size and conditions of the run. But certainly, if you start getting any pain or your shoe soles are obviously worn out, like that is a low-hanging fruit. But I think just gradually improving your mileage or increasing your mileage and trying to be proactive with injury prevention, stretching, foam rolling, etc.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I won't add anything to that one. We had 2 questions that came in. I'm gonna, just kinda ask here, I feel and if you don't have
Sure.
the answer, obviously feel free to, just say, "Hey, come talk to us." Um, alright, so we talk a lot about foot strike and gait, or, like, you hear a lot about that. Does your arm or hand positioning while running have any impact on performance or injury prevention? Um, I have a, tip there, but if you wanna go first, please, Dr. Gart.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any data or anything that it has any impact on performance. It is often a source of wasted energy. A lot of people like are doing a lot with their arms, and if you look at these kind of really elite fast runners, they're really not moving their arms a whole lot. I honestly, personally, just strive for something that's comfortable. I don't know of any pros or cons. I mean, I think whatever's going to work for you. I mean, try to relax. People often tend to like really shrug their shoulders up and get real tense, and you'll feel that in your trapezius and your neck and your shoulders the following day, if not the same day. But I think something comfortable that you can maintain. I'm not aware of any specific recommendations that have been shown to be advantageous or disadvantageous.
Yeah, I think the things is I'll talk first on the, the foot strike or gait, as well. The thing I'll mention, I feel like I remember too, if you have a watch or if you know of a song that does it, is the 180 beats per minute, or 180 steps per minute, is kind of what you want to aim for. That helps a lot with, the speed of your foot strike, and it helps with injury prevention. I feel like I've heard that from my coach at Forward Motion quite a bit. And then as far as a little tip for the, hand side of it, if you find yourself, moving, if you're going across of a center plane, so if you go from your nose to your navel, if you're
Yeah.
going across that center plane, that's not as good. So you want to kind of try to stay
Yep.
here. And I feel like the other thing that I've heard is act like you're holding a Pringle. Like you don't want to break the Pringle. So if you
Yep.
get too tight, you're going to feel that. So act like you're holding a Pringle, or you're trying to grab a fishing line, I think is the other thing I've heard too, as a random tip. Is any of that decently accurate?
That's a good one. The holding the Pringle. That's basically what I do, and I never thought of it that way. Crossing the midline is a big one. So yeah, you're just wasting a lot of energy coming across. It's not going to help propel you forward. So that would probably be the one. If you're going to change something, try to keep it straight. In the direction you're moving.
Yeah. Okay, last one here that came in, and then we'll close this thing up here. And obviously, again, guys, if you have other questions, you can direct message around the Crown or Ortho Carolina. We'll get those questions answered, and we'll get them out in, newsletters to come, or just email you back. But last one that came in, I thought was pretty good. So your thoughts on running through discomfort? How do you draw the line between normal soreness and something that may need medical attention?
I would tell you this is not evidence backed, but I mean just from personal experience, I have found that sore muscles usually will kind of pretty quickly resolve once you get moving versus something that persists or does not change throughout is probably more than a sore muscle. If your quads are sore, your glutes are sore or something, once you get a half mile or so in, that should be pretty much out of your system. Um, yeah, I mean, in general, I try to try not to run through discomfort, but I think we all do it a little bit. I think it depends for me, honestly, on where it is and when I'm feeling it. I mean, there are certainly times where if you got like a Morton's neuroma or plantar fasciitis, it's just hard to run at all. I think that stuff you're better off resting. But if you have like a sore muscle or you feel like you might have pulled something, it pretty quickly will kind of get back to normal once you get moving. That's always been my experience.
Yeah, I would say the same too. I think something I heard recently, like, it's one thing to like feel a pain in a particular spot. It's another thing if it starts radiating or
Mhm.
kind of, expanding.
Yeah,
That might be something more to go ahead and stop.
yeah,
You're gonna be better off if you go see a professional, or rest or ice or compression, any of that, than it is to push through 2 more miles. And I think just like a slight follow up question to this one, to kind of end this on, um, if you miss a day to, injury to, life, you've got summer camp going on, you've got everything else with kiddos or whatever it may be, your partner. Um, Do you think it's best to try to make up that mileage, or, move forward with the training and say, hey, Thursday says this, I'm going to do this thing? Any thoughts there?
I think in my younger days, I would probably have made up the mileage. I think in these days, I give myself a little bit more grace and a little more slack. You know, unless it's a critical, like it's your long run of the week or something, I don't think you need to necessarily pack the mileage in. I think it depends on the kind of race you're doing and the kind of runner you are. If you've done, 20 marathons and this is your 21st, you're probably just fine to skip the run. But if it's your first, if it's your first 5K and you're just, looking to get done, then I think maybe you want to try to make it up.
Yeah. We're going to squeeze in one more real quick because we have like 30
Yep.
seconds. As a doctor at OrthoCarolina, do you seem to find that runners have worse knees than the general population? Like, are we doing a disservice here by running? I feel like I constantly hear either from family members that don't run, like, how are your knees, or things like this. And if you are seeing that, what are those preventions or anything like that?
I certainly hope not, because I'm an avid runner. Um, I have always been told that the best predictor of whether or not you will develop arthritis from running is the condition of your knees when you start running. So I think
Hmm.
if you have knee trouble, then yeah, maybe you want to be a little bit more cautious about how much volume you're doing. But if you are pretty healthy, good knees, and you want to just start running, as long as you don't increase too quickly or stress yourself out too much. I mean, to my knowledge, there's no evidence that it accelerates arthritis. But certainly for someone with established arthritis, it may not be the best thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, awesome. We'll end it there. Again, if y'all have any other questions, please feel free to uh, DM us or OrthoCarolina, email them over, whatever it may be, as you're going through training. Again, we've got 1 month until the expo. We've got a month and 1 day until race day. OrthoCarolina will be out there at the expo at Truist Field on race day helping out. Dr. Gard, are you running this year?
I'm not this year. I don't think I'm in
Okay.
town for the race this year, unfortunately, but I'll get out there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, yeah, thank you all, Dr. Gart. Thanks so much for coming on today.
No
Really
problem.
appreciate it. This will be going on to our YouTube after this. We'll be sending a link out. Y'all have a great day. Thanks so
Have a
much.
good one. Good luck.